LEXSEE 102 PL. 295, United States Public Laws. 102nd Congress, 2nd Session. Copyright 2006 Matthew Bender and Company, Inc., one of the Lexis Publishing (TM) companies. All rights reserved. Public Law 102-295 S. 838, May 28, 1992. Child Abuse, Domestic Violence, Adoption and Family Services ACT of 1992. 102 PL. 295, 106 Stat. 187, 1992 Enacted S. 838, 102 Enacted S. 838, Bill Tracking Report. 102 Bill Tracking S. 838 Full Text Version S of Bill. 102 S. 838 Cis Legis. History Document. 102 Cis Legis. Hist. P.L. 295, an Act, to amend the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act to revise and extend programs under such Act and for other purposes. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, *1, Section 1. Less than 42 U.S.C. 5101 Note greater than short title, Table of Contents, a short title. This act may be cited as the Child Abuse, Domestic Violence, Adoption and Family Services Act of 1992. B. Table of Contents. The table of contents for this act is as follows. Sec. 1. Short title. Table of Contents. Title I. Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment ACT. Subtitle A. General Provisions Sec. 101. Amendatory References. Sec. 102. Findings. Subtitle B. General Program Sec. 111. Advisory Board on Child Abuse and Neglect. 2. 102 PL. 295, *1, 106 Stat. 187, 1992 Enacted S. 838, 102 Enacted S. 838, Sec. 305, Confidentiality Assurances, Sec. 306, Procedure for Evicting Violent Spouses. Sec. 307, Penalties for Noncompliance, Sec. 308, Grants to Indian Tribes, Sec. 309, Maximum Ceiling, Sec. 310, Grants to Entities Other Than States, Local Share. Sec. 311, Shelter and Related Assistance, Sec. 312, Allotment of Funds, Sec. 313, Secretarial Responsibilities, Sec. 314, Evaluation and Report to Congress, Sec. 315. Funding for Technical Assistance Centers, Sec. 316, Authorization of Appropriations, Sec. 317, Contracts and Grants for State Domestic Violence Coalitions, Sec. 318, Regulations, Sec. 319, Family Member Abuse Information and Documentation, Sec. 320, Grants for Public Information Campaigns, Sec. 321, Model State Leadership Incentive Grants for Domestic Violence Intervention. Sec. 322, Educating Youth About Domestic Violence. Title IV, Reauthorization of Programs with Respect to Adoption. Sec. 401, Findings and Purpose, Sec. 402. Model Adoption Legislation and Procedures, Sec. 403, Information and Service Functions, Sec. 404, Authorization of Appropriations, Title I, Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment ACT. Subtitle A. General Provisions *101 SEC. 101. Amendatory References, except as otherwise provided, whenever in this title an amendment or repeal is expressed in terms of an amendment to. Page 3, 102 PL. 295, *1, 106 Stat. 187, asterisk 188, 1992 enacted S. 838, 102 enacted S. 838, or repeal of, a section or other provision, the reference shall be considered to be made to that section or other provision of the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, 42 U.S.C. 5101 et seq. Asterisk 102, SEC. 102, findings. In general, the Act is amended by inserting after Section 1 the following new section. SEC. 2. Less than 42 U.S.C. 5101 note greater than findings. Congress finds that 1. Each year, hundreds of thousands of American children are victims of abuse and neglect, with such numbers having increased dramatically over the past decade. 2. Many of these children and their families fail to receive adequate protection or treatment. 3. The problem of child abuse and neglect requires a comprehensive approach that a. Integrates the work of social service, legal, health, mental health, education, and substance abuse agencies and organizations. B. Strengthens coordination among all levels of government, and with private agencies, civic, religious, and professional organizations, and individual volunteers. C. Emphasizes the need for abuse and neglect prevention, investigation, and treatment at the neighborhood level. Asterisk 189. D. Ensures properly trained and support staff with specialized knowledge to carry out their child protection duties. And E. Is sensitive to ethnic and cultural diversity. 4. The failure to coordinate and comprehensively prevent and treat child abuse and neglect threatens the futures of tens of thousands of children and results in a cost to the nation of billions of dollars in direct expenditures for health, social, and special educational services, and ultimately in the loss of work productivity. 5. All elements of American society have a shared responsibility in responding to this national child and family emergency. 6. Substantial reductions in the prevalence and incidence of child abuse and neglect and the alleviation of its consequences are matters of the highest national priority. 7. National policies should strengthen families to remedy the causes of child abuse and neglect, provide support for intensive services to prevent the unnecessary removal of children from families, and promote the reunification of families if removal has taken place. 8. The child protection system should be comprehensive, child-centered, family-focused, and community-based, should incorporate all appropriate measures to prevent the occurrence or recurrence of child abuse and neglect, and should promote physical and psychological recovery and social reintegration in an environment that fosters the health, self-respect, and dignity of the child. 9. Because of the limited resources available in low-income communities, federal aid for the child protection system should be distributed with due regard to the relative financial need of the communities. 10. The federal government should ensure that every community in the United States has the fiscal, human, and technical resources necessary to develop and implement a successful and comprehensive child protection strategy. 11. The federal government should provide leadership and assist communities in their child protection efforts by a. Promoting coordinated planning among all levels of government, b. Generating and sharing knowledge relevant to child protection, including the development of models for service delivery, c. Strengthening the capacity of states to assist communities, d. Allocating sufficient financial resources to assist states in implementing community plans, e. Helping communities to carry out their child protection plans by promoting the competence of professional, paraprofessional, and volunteer resources, and f. Providing leadership to end the abuse and neglect of the nation's children and youth. Page 4, 102 PL. 295, asterisk 101, 106 Stat. 187, asterisk 188, 1992 enacted S. 838, 102 enacted S. 838. B. Conforming amendment. The table of contents of the Act is amended by inserting after the item relating to Section 1 the following new item. Sec. 2. Findings. Asterisk 190. Subtitle B. General Program. Asterisk 111. SEC. 111. Advisory Board on Child Abuse and Neglect. Duties. Section 102F 42 U.S.C. 5102F is amended 1. In paragraph 2 by striking, and after the semicolon at the end of subparagraph E2 in paragraph 3 by striking the period and inserting, and 3 by adding at the end the following new paragraph. 4. Not later than 24 months after the date of the enactment of the Child Abuse Programs, Adoption Opportunities, and Family Violence Prevention Amendments Act of 1992, submit to the Secretary and the appropriate committees of the Congress a report containing the recommendations of the Board with respect to a national policy designed to reduce and ultimately to prevent child and youth maltreatment-related deaths, detailing appropriate roles and responsibilities for state and local governments and the private sector. B. Specific changes needed in federal laws and programs to achieve an effective federal role in the implementation of the policy specified in subparagraph A, and C. Specific changes needed to improve national data collection with respect to child and youth maltreatment-related deaths. B. Authorization of appropriations. Section 102, 42 U.S.C. 5102, is amended by adding at the end thereof the following new subsection, H. Authorization of appropriations. There are authorized to be appropriated to carry out this section, $1 million for fiscal year 1992, and such sums as may be necessary for each of the fiscal years 1993 through 1995. Asterisk 112, SEC 112, Research and Assistance Activities of the National Center on Child Abuse and Neglect. Research Topics. Section 105, 142 U.S.C. 5105, 1 is amended 1 in subparagraph A by striking, and treatment of, and inserting, treatment and cultural distinctions of, 2 in subparagraph B by striking, appropriate and effective, and inserting, appropriate, effective and culturally sensitive, and 3 in subparagraph CE by inserting, cultural diversity, after, child support. B. Publication and dissemination of information. Section 105B1, 42 U.S.C. 5105B1, is amended to read as follows. 1. As a part of research activities, establish a national data collection and analysis program, which, to the extent practicable, coordinates existing state child abuse and neglect reports and which shall include standardized data on false, unfounded, or unsubstantiated reports, and information on the number of deaths due to child abuse and neglect, and **191b, which shall collect, compile, analyze, and make available state child abuse and neglect reporting information which, to the extent practical, is universal and case-specific, and integrated with other case-based foster care. Page 5, 102 PL. 295, *102, 106 Stat. 187, *189, 1992 enacted S. 838, 102 enacted S. 838. And adoption data collected by the Secretary, see peer review for grants. Section 105E 42 U.S.C. 5105E is amended 1 in paragraph 1A in subparagraph A by inserting, and reviewing, after, evaluating, and B by amending subparagraph B to read as follows. B. In establishing the process required by subparagraph A, the Secretary shall appoint to the peer review panels only members who are experts in the field of child abuse and neglect or related disciplines, with appropriate expertise in the application to be reviewed, and who are not individuals who are officers or employees of the Office of Human Development. The panels shall meet as often as is necessary to facilitate the expeditious review of applications for grants and contracts under this section, but may not meet less than once a year. 2. In paragraph 2A in subparagraph A by inserting, and evaluate, after, determine, and B.I. by striking, and, after the semicolon at the end of subparagraph A.E. by striking the period at the end of subparagraph B and inserting, and E. by adding at the end the following new subparagraph. C. Make recommendations to the Secretary concerning whether the application for the project shall be approved. And 3. In paragraph 3 by amending subparagraph A to read as follows. A. The Secretary shall provide grants and contracts under this section from among the projects which the peer review panels established under paragraph 1A have determined to have merit. Asterisk 113, SEC 113. Grants to public agencies and nonprofit private organizations for demonstration OR service programs and projects. A general authority. Section 106, 42 U.S.C. 5106A, is amended 1 by striking a and all that follows through Secretary and inserting the following: a general authority. 1. Demonstration or service programs and projects. The Secretary, and 2, by adding at the end the following paragraph, 2. Evaluations. In making grants or entering into contracts for demonstration projects, the Secretary shall require all such projects to be evaluated for their effectiveness. Funding for such evaluations shall be provided either as a stated percentage of a demonstration grant or contract, or as a separate grant or contract entered into by the Secretary for the purpose of evaluating a particular demonstration project or group of projects. Asterisk 192B Discretionary Grants. Section 106C1, 42 U.S.C. 5106C1, is amended 1 in subparagraph B by inserting culturally specific before instruction, and 2A in subparagraph A by striking or after the semicolon at the end, B in subparagraph B by striking the period and inserting or, and C by adding at the end the following subparagraph: C to improve the recruitment, selection, and training of volunteers serving in private and public nonprofit children, youth and family service organizations in order to prevent child abuse and neglect through collaborative analysis of current recruitment, selection, and training programs and development of model programs for dissemination and replication nationally. Asterisk 114, SEC 114, Grant Program for Child Abuse Neglect Prevention and Treatment. Page 6, 102 PL. 295, asterisk 112, 106 Stat. 187, asterisk 191, 1992 Enacted S. 838, 102 Enacted S. 838. Development and Operation Grants. Section 107, 42 U.S.C. 5106A is amended to read as follows: Development and Operation Grants. The Secretary, acting through the Center, shall make grants to the states, based on the population of children under the age of 18 in each state that applies for a grant under this section, for purposes of assisting the states in improving the child protective service system of each such state in 1. The intake and screening of reports of abuse and neglect through the improvement of the receipt of information, decision-making, public awareness, and training of staff. 2a. Investigating such reports through improving response time, decision-making, referral to services, and training of staff. b. Creating and improving the use of multidisciplinary teams and interagency protocols to enhance investigations. And c. Improving legal preparation and representation. 3. Case management and delivery services provided to families through the improvement of response time in service provision, improving the training of staff, and increasing the numbers of families to be served. 4. Enhancing the general child protective system by improving assessment tools, automation systems that support the program, information referral systems, and the overall training of staff to meet minimum competencies. Or 5. Developing, strengthening, and carrying out child abuse and neglect prevention, treatment, and research programs. Not more than 15% of a grant under this subsection may be expended for carrying out paragraph 5. The preceding sentence does not apply to any program or activity authorized in any of paragraphs 1 through 4. b. Establishment of certain requirement. Section 107, 42 U.S.C. 5106A is amended 1 by redesignating subsections C through F as subsections D through G respectively, and 2 by inserting after subsection B the following new subsection. C. State Program Plan. To be eligible to receive a grant under this section, a state shall submit every 4 years a plan **193 to the Secretary that specifies the Child Protective Service system area or areas described in subsection A that the state intends to address with funds received under the grant. The plan shall describe the current system capacity of the state in the relevant area or areas from which to assess programs with grant funds and specify the manner in which funds from the state's programs will be used to make improvements. The plan required under this subsection shall contain, with respect to each area in which the state intends to use funds from the grant, the following information with respect to the state. 1. Intake and screening. A. Staffing. The number of Child Protective Service workers responsible for the intake and screening of reports of abuse and neglect relative to the number of reports filed in the previous year. B. Training. The types and frequency of pre-service and in-service training programs available to support direct line and supervisory personnel in report taking, screening, decision-making, and referral for investigation. C. Public education. An assessment of the state or local agency's public education program with respect to I. What is child abuse and neglect? E. Who is obligated to report and who may choose to report? And E. How to report. 2. Investigation of reports. A. Response time. The number of reports of child abuse and neglect filed in the state in the previous year where appropriate, the agency response time to each with respect to initial investigation, the number of substantiated and unsubstantiated reports, and where appropriate, the response time with respect to the provision of services. B. Staffing. The number of Child Protective Service workers responsible for the investigation of child abuse and neglect reports relative to the number of reports investigated in the previous year. C. Interagency coordination. A description of the extent to which interagency coordination processes exist and are available statewide, and whether protocols or formal policies governing interagency relationships exist in the following areas. Page 7. 102 PL. 295, *114, 106 Stat. 187, *192, 1992 Enacted S. 838, 102 Enacted S. 838. I. Multidisciplinary investigation teams among child welfare and law enforcement agencies. E. Interagency coordination for the prevention, intervention and treatment of child abuse and neglect among agencies responsible for child protective services, criminal justice, schools, health, mental health, and substance abuse, and E. Special interagency child fatality review panels, including a listing of those agencies that are involved. D. Training. The types and frequency of pre-service and in-service training programs available to support direct line and supervisory personnel in such areas as investigation, risk assessment, court preparation, and referral to and provision of services. ***194. E. Legal representation. A description of the state agency's current capacity for legal representation, including the manner in which workers are prepared and trained for court preparation and attendance, including procedures for appealing substantiated reports of abuse and neglect. 3. Case management and delivery of ongoing family services. For children for whom a report of abuse and neglect has been substantiated and the children remain in their own homes and are not currently at risk of removal, the state shall assess the activities and the outcomes of the following services. A. Response time. The number of cases opened for services is a result of investigation of child abuse and neglect reports filed in the previous year, including the response time with respect to the provision of services from the time of initial report and initial investigation. B. Staffing. The number of Child Protective Service workers responsible for providing services to children and their families in their own homes is a result of investigation of reports of child abuse and neglect. C. Training. The types and frequency of pre-service and in-service training programs available to support direct line and supervisory personnel in such areas as risk assessment, court preparation, provision of services and determination of case disposition, including how such training is evaluated for effectiveness. D. Interagency coordination. The extent to which treatment services for the child and other family members are coordinated with child welfare, social service, mental health, education, and other agencies. 4. General system enhancement. A. Automation. A description of the capacity of current automated systems for tracking reports of child abuse and neglect from intake through final disposition and how personnel are trained in the use of such system. B. Assessment tools. A description of whether, how, and what risk assessment tools are used for screening reports of abuse and neglect, determining whether child abuse and neglect has occurred, and assessing the appropriate level of state agency protection and intervention, including the extent to which such tool is used statewide and how workers are trained in its use. C. Information and referral. A description and assessment of the extent to which a state has in place information and referral systems, including their availability and ability to link families to various child welfare services such as homemakers, intensive family-based services, emergency caretakers, home health visitors, daycare and services outside the child welfare system such as housing, nutrition, health care, special education, income support, and emergency resource assistance, and efforts undertaken to disseminate to the public information concerning the problem of child abuse and neglect and the prevention and treatment programs and services available to combat instances of such abuse and neglect. **195. D. Staff capacity and competence. An assessment of basic and specialized training needs of all staff and current training provided staff. Assessment of the competencies of staff with respect to minimum knowledge in areas such as child development, cultural and ethnic diversity, functions and relationship of other systems to child protective services and in specific skills such as interviewing, assessment, and decision-making relative to the child and family, and the need for training consistent with such minimum competencies. 5. Innovative approaches. A description of A. Research and demonstration efforts for developing, strengthening, and carrying out child abuse and neglect prevention, treatment, and research programs, including the interagency efforts at the state level, and B. The manner in which proposed research and development activities build on existing capacity in the programs being addressed. C. Technical correction. Section 107D, as redesignated by subsection B of this section, is amended in the matter. Page 8. 102 PL. 295, *114, 106 Stat. 187, *193, 1992 Enacted S. 838, 102 Enacted S. 838. Proceeding subparagraph A by striking this subsection and inserting subsection A-D less than 42 U.S.C. 5106A note greater than delayed effective date for new requirements. The amendments described in subsections A and B are made upon the date of the enactment of this Act. Such amendments take effect on October 1, 1993, or on October 1 of the first fiscal year for which $40 million or more is made available under subsection A-2-BE of Section 114 of the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, as amended by Section 117 of this Act, whichever occurs first. Prior to such amendments taking effect, Section 107 of the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, as in effect on the day before the date of the enactment of this Act, continues to be in effect. *115, SEC. 115, Emergency Grant Program. In general. Section 107A-E, 42 U.S.C. 5106A-1E is amended by striking out, and such sums, and all that follows through the end thereof and inserting, such sums as may be necessary for fiscal year 1991, $40 million for fiscal year 1992, and such sums as may be necessary for each of the fiscal years 1993 through 1995. B. Technical Amendment. Section 1 is amended in the table of contents by inserting after the item relating to Section 107 the following. Sec. 107A. Emergency Child Abuse Prevention Services Grant. *116, SEC. 116. Grant Program for Investigation and Prosecution of Child Abuse Cases. In general. Section 109(42) U.S.C. 5106C is amended 1 by striking out the section heading and inserting in lieu thereof the following.